I think I'll start the discussion on energy efficiency in the home by talking about what we mean by efficiency first. Okay, so this word efficiency, okay, what does it mean? We've seen it a lot. We work efficiently, what does that mean or what does that imply? I've got an efficient car, for example, so what does that mean in terms of the amount of fuel used? Efficiency really talks about doing the same or possibly more with less. So if we're talking about a more fuel efficient car, for example, it could be two cars, both having the same level of performance perhaps, but one car maybe uses less fuel than the other due to some technological advancement, or it could be a lighter car, it could be for whatever reason. So efficiency really is about maximizing outcomes as much as we can, but at the same time not using not using as much resources, or using less resources, I guess, than what we would have used before, or reducing the amount of resources expended or used. When you talk about energy efficiency, okay, it's about reducing energy consumption, however, without compromising on the end result. So in other words, we still want to get whatever I want done. If I want to, for example, travel in my car from point A to point B, I still want to get there within a reasonable time. I still want to enjoy the comforts of having the usual air conditioning, power windows, and all that kind of thing. However, I don't want to use as much fuel and energy to accomplish that. So you're still accomplishing what it is that you want, but you're not using as much energy or resources to accomplish that. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So energy efficiency, reducing energy usage, but at the same time, getting what we want in the end in terms of whatever outcome we desire. So using less energy to accomplish a task saves money. So why would we want to do this, in fact? First and foremost, saves money, and I think equally as important, saves the environment at the same time. So I think they're both equally valid reasons to use less energy. So for whatever your reason might be, there's always a positive to using less energy to accomplish a task. Okay, so saving money and the environment in the same time, I think are great reasons to use less energy. Okay, so it's really about managing that energy use, and if you can do something with less energy, why not? Okay, so let's have a look here at another point, another couple of points actually. So I'm just going to adjust the camera just a little bit. Okay. In the home, so we're going to be focusing energy usage in a home or a domestic environment, but the same could be applied anywhere. So in the home, much energy is consumed for these three things. Okay, for cooling, heating, so those two probably consume the most. But then we have lighting as well, and especially when we talk about traditional lighting, the old incandescent, halogen, those kind of a yellowy sort of light that produces a lot of heat actually. They do consume quite a lot of power. Although now we've moved on, now we're using fluorescent LED and there's other technologies as well. The question is, what can we consider, I guess, in the design of a house, okay, to minimize energy usage for cooling, heating, and lighting, just focusing on those three things. In fact, I would even say that, for example, washing clothes, that's I guess a task that occurs many times in the week, and drying clothes could probably be added to this as well. And I didn't note it here sort of in the notes, but something to think about, that using a washing machine and a dryer, for example, many times a week, does consume a lot of power. And consumes a lot of energy. Is there another way that we could accomplish, for example, the drying of clothes? Maybe move the clothesline, for example, to, if there is a sunny spot or you get the sun in a certain time of the day in a part of the house or the balcony or the yard or wherever, maybe to position clothing on a stand and maybe just put them out in the sun. And you probably find that they'll probably dry equally as effectively, or just put them in a place where it gets a bit of a breeze. You're using practically no power, or no power really, no electricity, and you're accomplishing the drying of the clothes. So what about, for example, choosing energy efficient appliances? Okay, and we'll talk about this in the next video, where I will show some practical examples of this. So many appliances, they have what we call an Energy Star rating, and last check, it was actually up to 6 stars. Okay, the energy rating, I guess, could change over time, and they might change the system, but from what I've seen on some appliances, it's a 6-star rating for energy efficiency, and there's also water efficiency as well, but I'm not going to talk about water efficiency, just keep it to energy and electricity. Obviously, the more stars, the better. And there's also one other index, I guess, or a measure of energy efficiency, is this New South Wales Building Sustainability Index. Okay, and this is really a set of guidelines. It basically ensures that new homes built, and I recall, I think it's from 2004 onwards, roughly, but around that time, it ensures new homes built meet certain energy efficiency guidelines. So any house built beyond, I think, past 2004, so I may be wrong with that, but you might want to look that up. But I think it was around 2004. Basically, the house has to meet certain criteria. It has to have a certain amount of insulation. The windows have to be a certain size. Even the orientation of the house, where the house, which direction does it point? The sun rises from east to west, but sort of in winter, the sun is at midday. The sun is north, kind of sort of high in the sky, but in a northerly direction. So where does the house face? The front of the house, does it face north, south? That sort of thing. So all those considerations need to be taken into account. And it is an exhaustive list. I mean, there is quite a lot there to consider, but there is a cut down version that you can have a look at online to have a look at some of the ideas and some of the guidelines that are stipulated when building a house. This can also be applied to, for example, non-domestic environments like shopping centres, for example. Any sort of commercial environments. Similar kind of thing applies, I guess. With lighting and heating and cooling, and I think they're probably the most energy sort of intensive sort of usage, energy intensive applications. Okay, that in any building really. So air conditioning, for example, run the air conditioner, all day, your power bill would be, relatively speaking, would be quite high. So again, how could we minimise air conditioner use while at the same time still achieve a cooling effect? Could that mean maybe planting certain shrubs or trees in the garden to shade the house, for example? The sun sets in the west. When the sun is setting, the afternoon sun can be quite intense, and sometimes can be more intense, or usually more intense than the morning sun. So the afternoon sun, how would you shield against that? Maybe some nice plants or trees to shield the house, for example, and that could give the house a little bit more shade, so it'll cool the house down, so we're less likely to have to use an air conditioner for extended periods in summer. So it's just those sort of things that we'll talk about in a bit in the next video. We'll have a look at a few ideas as well, and some practical examples of some of these ideas.